subject for today. We're talking about eminent domain. Feeling today? Come on in the room. This is Dr. Cheetah's Sunflower, aka Dr. Shon, back with another live broadcast. Tap those hearts if you can hear me today. Wherever you watching from, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you are about positive vibes, inspiration, elevating knowledge, and knowing who you are. Go ahead and subscribe because we are motivated and we are growing every single day. Come on in the room. We're not going to waste much time. That's why I didn't let the timer go down, because normally I allow it to go down for like 5 minutes. But we got a long lesson this morning about eminent domain, as you can see there. So before we get into this, while I'm talking, if you have any questions, you could definitely type it into the chat. Exclamation topic if you want to know the topic for today. That doesn't work on TikTok, only on like Twitch and Facebook. Alright, so come on in the room. I'm going to give it a couple minutes for the tribe to wake up. How y'all feeling this morning? Before we get into the serious Niiji business, how y'all feeling today? Go ahead and grab you something to drink. Your notebook in case you want to take notes, or screenshotting works too, but we got the hood to hooded pack on deck, because why not? We're trying to get the 1K hearts today, and let's dive in. I know it's early as hell. It's Saturday. It's a little chilly here in New York. Honestly, I wish I was at homecoming in Tallahassee, but duty calls. The entrepreneurship in me has to be here. So, anywho, that's what's going on with me today. Just keeping this consistency going, growing, learning, elevating. I see so many people on my TikTok like, dang, it feels so good to know who you are. And it's really so many people just sharing the knowledge. I'm so excited to see the mass awakening, the amnesia fleeing, the generational curses being broken. I'm excited to see that. So let's dive in. If you're watching this on the replay, it's gonna get a little juicy. We might, I don't know. I really prepared this presentation today because I ran across a video. That was talking about eminent domain, because I keep trying to figure out, well, put it like this. I see a lot of videos, people, oh my God, tired of working 9 to 5. Everything is not working. Everything is out of whack right now. If you're paying attention, that's how it feels, because the government is, I don't really know. They just didn't start on good foundation. So whenever you don't build seeds on positivity and you try to use actual human beings to fund your evil shit, that doesn't last. Okay? It don't last. So that's what we're talking about today. Eminent domain. You may or may not have heard of this, but this is the truth on how we got to where we are as Niiji, aka people who think that they are black, people who will call themselves just a color, which I also identify as my whole entire life until last year when I read, because I kept seeing it, TikTok kept seeing it, and I'm like, something has to be to this. And baby, listen. Baby, listen, baby, listen, baby, listen. When I started reading, I said, let me go to who they taught me first. I said, Christopher Columbus, let me go and read what the hell he said. And I discovered that he had journals. And he told all his evilness in his journals. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then I knew that I had opened up Pandora's box. I opened it up and I never let it go. And ever since then, I just been so grateful to know who I am. So grateful for the ancestors for leaving these breadcrumbs, for leaving these pieces that connect the true Niiji to who we are after everything the pirates tried to do, aka the pilgrims, aka the colonizers, through paper genocide, physical genocide, mental genocide, any kind of genocide, you name it, they tried it, and still doing it to this day. Right now, it's a kid preparing for a history test, and they're gonna ask them on that history test, who discovered America? And they're going to tell a line and say Christopher Columbus. Just last Monday, it was Christopher Columbus Day. So this old, outdated, eminent domain type shit is still being perpetuated to this moment. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, we finna dive into it. I'm not going to do too much in between talking because I got a lot of points I want to make today. So if you ever wonder, well, dang, I keep seeing this, that we're American Indian, but something is disconnecting. That's bridging the gap between the hood to hooded mindset. I know hooded means you go to be a doctor, blah, 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 blah. But in this setting, in this Dreamers Network setting, it means you elevate your mind to the level where you study. You're a lifelong learner, because that's what a doctor is, basically. We lifelong learners. We just love learning. And we just got a degree for learning, something that was a specific skill, but anybody can be a lifelong learner, especially when it comes to who the fuck you are. You know what I mean? So, before we talk about eminent domain, which is basically land seizures, and it goes way, way back. So we have to teach our kids not what the history books are telling us. We have to teach them, you know, we have to teach them the truth, starting with way back in the day, because they cover a lot of this stuff up because it is embarrassing, and no one wants to be attached to such evilness that we know exists in the world. All right? So I want to ask you guys, what or who taught the world that the earth could be owned? Who taught the world that the earth could be owned, that people could be owned, that your soul could be owned, that somebody can put you in prison for simple things like driving, for really anything they want to put you in prison for? They can just do it the hell. Who taught these people this colonization type shit? So when I go and do my digging, I'm going to go do digging. I'm going to tell you on the ass. Okay? Because I'm like, okay, we can't start in the 1900s. We can't start in the 1800s. We can't start in the 17, 16, 15, 14. You got to go 13 before Columbus. So that's what we're going to do today. But in a condensed format. So you really got to be ready to have your thinking caps on. If you don't have your thinking caps on, just watch it on the replay when you got time to actually sit down and digest what we getting ready to talk about. Some of you probably already know some of this stuff if you have been involved with the Niiji movement. I see a lot more people, but some of these things you might not really know, and it might hit home for you, you know. So I want to know, who taught the world that Earth could be owned? Who gave this stupid ass idea out? Today's eminent domain laws didn't appear from thin air. They are the last chapter in a 500-year script of conquest, papal decrees, royal charters, and legal fraud disguised as civilization. They want you to be civilized, but under the condition that they can control your soul and take your land and make you a enslaved person, or even just write that you was enslaved. If you wasn't, they just gonna write whatever the hell they want. That's what I saw when I read Christopher Columbus. He wrote whatever the hell he want. He named stuff. And I was wondering, who the hell gave him that mindset to think that you can go literally from one piece of continent, Earth, to a whole nother mass of Earth, taking 3, 4, 5 months to get there. And then when you get there, you don't know these people's language. You never met them. They running from you, and you actually telling them that you like trying to give them gifts that you know not worth nothing, and bribing them to come on your boat and KID napping them to the point where they gotta jump off your boat. I wonder who gave him that mindset. And today we dive deep. Okay, so eminent domain is when, let's turn this down just a little bit so you guys can truly hear me. So eminent domain is the government's claimed right to take private property for public use with just compensation. U.S. Constitution, 5th Amendment, 1791. 1791, guys. That's what eminent domain means. All right, so let's get into our presentation today. So today we're going to do an exploration of the complex history and implications of land ownership to figure out how the hell the land got stole, because that's the true problem why everybody's in an uproar, because someone stole some land. They don't act like they want to know what happened, but the documents and their ancestors wrote everything down, and we just went all the way back in to see who is really behind this BS. And the answer might surprise you. We're going to be focusing on indigenous rights and the ongoing struggle for justice and reclamation and restitution, because this is fraud. It was literally homicide. It was democide. It was all kinds of sides that they did. And it's sad. And you can see this map here behind me. This is an old map, and you can see how it's not divided the same anymore. It's all about control. Who is controlling the land? Okay? So that's what eminent domain means. When the government can just come to your land that you own, say, hey, I don't care about what you own. I want this land. I'm the government. I'm going to take it, and here go some cotton money with my face on it that I stole from the indigenous people and put my face on it, and now I'm going to take your shit that I got the actual cotton from, pay you with that, take your shit, and it's okay. Ain't nothing you could do because we got orders. Where you get these orders from? Where they get this eminent domain stuff from? It's in the Constitution to take your stuff. It goes back to church edicts and colonial patents. Yeah, church edicts and colonial patents that declare indigenous lands ownerless the moment a Christian flag touched them. Yep, that's what they said. The moment the Christian flag touched them, that's when they said they can take the land, control the people, confuse the people, get them out of their spot, make them think they're something that they're not. And then this is how you get the 9 to 5 when you hate your job and you gotta retire and you don't know why. You always feel like something ain't right about life. It's like, what the fuck, man? We ain't supposed to be working this hard, trying this hard. Life ain't supposed to be this hard. You wonder why? Because you're under the wrong identity and somebody else is in your spot. And I'm going to show you why. I got receipts. I got evidence. That's why I put this together, so that we can grow and we can know the truth as Niiji. In order to do that, you got to spend some time unlocking the codes, breaking those curses, and listening. Just because it sounds strange to you doesn't mean it's not true. You've been sat down for 12 years to make you a slave to go to work, so that you don't ever question who you are, because we told you who you are. You never gonna go question it, because I told you in school and gave it in the books. But you gotta go back and see who made those books. Scholastic, all of these people are immigrants, and they wanted to control the land, so they had to control the kids, the parents, every little piece of it. They had to piece this thing together. So now you just in the matrix and you don't know why you feel this way. We gonna break it down today and let you know why it's like that. But the DNA of eminent domains, the government being able to take land patents from our indigenous people, and I hear it all the time. Even now, we have family land, and they say, "Oh, well, they got tricked out of the land with money." It's just a mess. So how do we get back to Niiji-ness? Okay. So ask yourself this question before we start this process. Who benefits when paper decides ownership instead of presence? So instead of you saying, okay, these people was already here, they own the land, this is their sacred land, you say, oh, I got this paperwork that I just made the hell up because I learned how to write now, and I'm just writing anything because it seemed like I'm around here smoking some damn Molly or something. What are you doing writing crazy stuff? Like Christopher Columbus had to be on something serious. Like when I read his journal, he was a freaking psychopath. He was a literal psychopath. I don't understand how he has a freaking holiday. It's disgusting, and it's just a slap in the face. That's all it is. It's a slap in the face. So what happens when the word public never included the people who live in there? Taking private property for public use, but not for the people who actually own the place. Look up the Red Arsenal in Alabama. Look up that history, how they took that land and now it's military base, all of this stuff. They took the land with the 9 or whatever kind of gat they had back then, and they kept it about the gat and the cross. I'm sorry, but this is just what it is. This is what the history shows. Okay? So let's go to our first point of view. Well, we kind of already did this one. Let's see. And that's just what the history shows, guys. It's a little confusing. Trying to do TikTok and this at the same darn time. Alright, I think this is where I'm at. Yep. So as you can see, the definition of eminent domain we already kind of went over. It's the government's claim right to take private property for use with just compensation. So you can screenshot that, go look up that amendment, and it goes back to the church. Yep, it goes back to the freaking church, man. So who taught us this idea? Who taught us that, you know, they could control the earth? Where did that idea come from? Well, you guys already know where it came from. It came from the minds of colonizers who wanted to trick us out of our spot. And I'm struggling here on TikTok uploading my slides because they're a little out of order. I can't figure out where I am, which sucks. we're gonna get it together. It seems like my slides didn't really upload properly on here. And I wonder why. I'm missing a slide. Okay, well, we're just gonna skip that. TikTok, if you want to join in, you might have to come on to TikTok because I don't want to slow down the process, but I'll try to keep up with the slides on TikTok. Oh, so yeah, who taught us this idea? So we're gonna go into our first section, which is talking about the Papal Bulls. Okay, the Papal Bulls. And have you ever heard of the Papal Bulls? Let's pull these up. This was the divine right to steal coming from the popes. The Papal Bulls. The divine right to steal. You'll see some of them right here. And you can see them. Yeah. The divine right to steal. Okay. So the first Papal Bull that we're going to talk about is Unum Diversis. This was in 1452. Unum Diversis. Okay? So with Unum Diversis, this was Pope Nicholas V. He authorized Portugal to invade, search out, capture, and subdue all Saracens and pagans. So the Pope in 1452 in Portugal, that's around Christopher Columbus' his birthplace around over there, 1452. He told them, or he authorized them to invade. And what did Christopher Columbus do? He invaded. Search out. He went on the islands and he was searching for shit. Capture. He captured people and tried to bring them back to show King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. You see them right there. Looking kind of crazy. And subdue all people who did not believe in Christianity. So this was their rule or their authorization. These people sent Christopher Columbus to do that. So that was Unum Diversis. Pope Nicholas the Fifth. And then Romanus Pontifex, which is 1955. I hate my slides didn't upload, but this extends the same privilege, legalizing perpetual servitude of non-Christians. All right, so this goes back when you wondering where these people came from, where they get these crazy ass psychotic ideas. This is where they got it from. These psychos that you see on the screen calling themselves popes. Let's talk about it. So you got the Unum Diversis, which is a papal decree from Nicholas V, which sent them out saying you can invade, steal, search, do whatever you want. And then that was 1452. 1455 extends the same privilege to other people. So if you're not a Christian, that means they could put you into servitude for life. That's what they was telling them. Hey, if they don't want to abide and they're not Christian, they're going to have to be in servitude. Basically, you try to enslave them for life. That's what the popes was telling them, the followers. So you see how the Pope's effect is now. Imagine back then it's the same kind of thing going on. They was sending out evilness, but calling it Christianity. Then there was the Caetera, 1493. Pope Alexander VI grants Spain, which is where Christopher Columbus is from, divine title to all lands discovered west of the meridian line through the Atlantic. So this Pope said, hey, Spain, you got the title to all the land that you discover, you know, west of the Atlantic. So this one they got that deal. Okay, well we own all the land west of the Atlantic. We got the right from the Pope, the Inter Caetera, 1493. 1493. The Pope said that. So not only was they coming to invade, steal, search out, now they said, hey, go steal all the land. You got our right. If they not Christian, they not under our, we control their soul. And if they don't become Christian, then they gotta serve us forever. What the 9 to 5 sound like? So these Papal Bulls, what jurists call the doctrine of discovery. So that's what they say Christopher Columbus discovered America, because they sent him over here to discover land, and he didn't discover no America. He discovered people over here. He was like, oh, these are some handsome people, he wrote in his journal. I never seen anything like it. They look like the people in the Canary Islands, which at that time was completely melanated because it's right near Africa. Okay. So the quote, Inter Caetera, which is in 1492, says, we assign to you and your heirs all islands and mainlands discovered and to be discovered. That's quoted from these Papal Bulls, which is stuff that the popes sent out to the people so they know what to do. So they sent out something in the 1400s saying, hey, just steal the land. They didn't really say steal. They said you are authorized to take this land, or it says invade, search out, seize. So this was not no exploration. This was the first global title deed. So when you think about the mindset that colonizers and pilgrims come with, they came with those mindsets, like Christopher Columbus, all of the people who came and stole land. They had this mindset from their Pope, from the Christian church back then. These people who was the leaders of this stuff said they're not going to turn into Christian, and hey, you can do what you want with them. Yeah, I'm just reading the quote. These ain't my words. It's not my words. So we got, let's go to the next slide. Pope Nicholas V. He was the architect of Christian imperial law. And where is Pope Nicholas V? This is him. The first guy right here. The first guy on the left. That's Pope Nicholas V. Right? So that's 1397, guys. That's a while ago, right? 1397 to 1455. Pope Nicholas V. This is the one you're looking at who made the Unum Sanctam. He created the Unum Sanctam. Remember, that one says you had a right to go and search out, invade, capture, and subdue all Saracens and pagans who do not believe in Christianity. That was him, Pope Nicholas V, the 1397 to 1455. The architect, now this guy who don't look nothing like me, don't have no melanin, he was the architect of Christian imperial law. Meaning you have to be a Christian, boy. And then there was Pope Alexander VI. This is the one who made the Inter Caetera. And he's the guy in the middle. And he was born Rodrigo Borgia, 1431 to 1503. The Borgia Pope who divided the world between Spain and Portugal. Okay? And the Inter Caetera said, hey, yeah, you get all the land west of the meridian line through the Atlantic. So they was starting to claim land they had never seen. Never ever seen it. How y'all claiming land you never seen? And then there is these two lunatics at the end that you see in the black and white. These crazy ass people. Recipient of those bulls. So they received the Papal Bulls, which is a document. If you hear the word Papal Bull, that's what I'm talking about. They made documents. They just wrote stuff down with rabbit brains. King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella I. They received those Papal Bulls, and they're the one who sent Christopher Columbus to his 1493 voyage. Yeah, yeah, these guys. Like, what? So this is how he got the idea to come over here from the church. To know, do y'all know what he did when he came over here? Do y'all know what these conquistadors did when they came over here? They set things on fire, committed all kinds of homicide, democide, genocide, all kinds of stuff with the orders of the church. Stay tuned though, because we just getting started. We literally just getting started. But meet these guys, because they the main culprits of why we in this mess today. Alright? This is why. The popes. So the line drawn by Alexander VI sliced through living nations, which was the Niiji, the American Indian, the melanated, before the lies, launching, that had no voice. The Taino, the Arawak, the Niiji, the Carib, and the Maya. Spain took the west, Portugal took the east. The Church of Rome became the first global real estate broker. The Church of Rome became the first real estate broker because they stole the land. They made it a law. The Christian law. That, hey, if this land ain't occupied by Christians, the hell with them. They got to become how we are. You mean mentally insane. Okay? Mentally insane. So then there were the royal charters. The royal charters. Let's see if I can pull up the royal charters. Yes, there's the royal charters. So we're going to talk about the royal charters. I feel like it's a different slide for the royal charters, but we're gonna stay right here. TikTok, it's tripping a little bit, so come on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Dr. Chief the Sunflower, Dr. Shon, and you can see the full screen. All right. But the royal charters. So when the papal powers met royal greed, so the popes plus the royal greed, the crown charters carried the same theology into corporate law. England's key charters were, these are the people who came over here, the settlers, okay? Expansion of land claimed through charters. The British royal charters from 1606 to 1681 facilitated the establishment of corporate colonies. Corporate colonies, including French claims, leading to significant impact on indigenous communities and the co-modification of their ancestral lands, which is our lands. All right. So England's key charters were as you can see on the screen here, it goes from the Papal Bull 1493 to the Royal Land Charters 1776 to 1789. So we moved a couple years since Christopher Columbus to now England want a piece of the land. Okay? And then it goes to the Board of Trustees, and then we get to the land office, because we working our way to figure out how the hell the land got to the point where it is now. So the first royal charter was the Virginia Charter, 1606. King James I grants London and Plymouth companies rights to land not actually possessed by any Christian prince. So if they came over here and it wasn't a Christian prince on the land, I'm just telling you guys what they wrote down and what they thought when they did this stuff. Because I be trying to figure out, like, what is y'all problem? Like, who thinks like this? So 1606. This is like 200 years after Columbus, maybe like 100 years. You know, this is during that time, really. He wrote the grants that they could take any land not occupied by a Christian prince, which means the whole land is no Christian princes over here, which means the people over here weren't Christian. But since they weren't Christian, we're going to enslave them all. Do it sound familiar, guys? And if you don't want to be enslaved, guess what you become? You got to become a Christian in their eyes. The Massachusetts Bay Charter. Let's move our slide along. The Massachusetts Bay Charter. All right. So the Massachusetts Bay Charter, 1629, King Charles I authorizes Puritans to settle New England, ignoring the Wampanoag and Massachusetts sovereignties. Okay, this coming from the people across the seas. They giving permission to come over here, and if you ain't Christian, they don't give a damn what you got to say. They're going to make you enslaved, make all these laws against you, and hate you. Who that sound like? Right. Okay. Stop playing. He gave them permission to settle. And that's what they did. They came over here. They was like, hey, we got a message from our king over there. We don't care about your chiefs over here. We don't care about what y'all got going on. Y'all ain't Christians. That's why they was like, we don't want to hear nothing they got to say. That's why they put missionaries in the communities. They put churches up to make the community, to make the Niiji Christians. Because it was a law from the Pope, remember? To go out and seize the land, claim the souls. There's one text where it was like, their souls is ours. And Christopher Columbus, he wrote, our goal is to break their spirit, because they don't look like they're broken spirited. He actually saw when he came over here, we didn't know nothing about like evil and murder and war. It was tribal vibes. He wrote this, and he said we have to break their spirit. Yeah, with the Bible. They don't know nothing about the Bible, is what he also said in his journal. Go look it up, man. Don't believe in nobody. You got to see it for yourself. I promise you, it's going to taste so much better when you see it and read it for yourself. You got to read it for yourself. Let's come over here. It's just not working on the TikTok. I'm going to have to work on my slides for TikTok. Make them smaller. All right. Then we got the Carolina Charter. So if you in any of these areas, you know, this is what happened. When your ancestors was here, they came in the 1600s and just start going to war. The Carolina Charters was 1663 to 1665. King Charles II. So this is after King Charles I. Then his son came, King Charles II, and granted territory from Virginia to Florida to 8 lord proprietors. What? Maybe that's how you get a landlord. Stop playing with yourself. Stop it. This is King Charles II. Said, go ahead and take that land. They ain't Christians. Let's take it. Give it to us. It's ours. We own your souls. Yeah. And then Pennsylvania Charter, which came a little bit later, 1681. King Charles II gives William Penn. Where have y'all heard that name from? Penn State, Penn this. He gave William Penn a proprietary colony. Pennsylvania. Each document repeated Alexander VI's logic. If people weren't Christian or European, their land was vacant in their eyes. This is why they thought like this. When you come over here and you think about how they just pulled up Jamestown, Plymouth Rock, all of this stuff. They just pulled up, and they didn't know people was here. And when they got here, they had to fight. They had to keep bringing people, because it's like, dang, the land ain't empty. They've been trying to claim this land for the longest, but it's never been empty. So that's why they had to erase the Niiji. They had to erase the American Indian, because this is who they was fighting. They had to get us out of our spot, call us black, send us to church, make us go to school, lock us up, do all this stuff, get the police, make us pay taxes, make us go to work, make us go insane, give us mental health issues. So they can take the land and you can settle down. You can be in order, basically. You can be a Christian, now you believe, now you follow them, you gave your soul to them. So this is what they're thinking. And I couldn't believe the presidents that they teach in school, were enslaving people. They came from this line. They came through this system. They came through this process where they thought that they were better than you and they were the Christians. Their God, their Lord told them to take your fucking soul. And now they got you going to church. But after they come and steal the land and go to war, like Andrew Jackson, who was in Tallahassee, aka Tallahassee, aka the Appalachian Indians, aka the Redskins. Hence, they changed my high school name from Redskins. Hence, I'm a Red Man. That's literally my last name, Red Man. Now, the school is the Raiders. Fuck out of here, man. Y'all thought we wasn't gonna wake up. That's why they said don't read, don't write, don't learn, don't know who you are. We gonna tell you who you are so you can get that 9 to 5, retire when you 65, and shut the hell up. Period. So that was the Pennsylvania charter. Hey, if they're not Christians or they're not European, meaning if they're not white, we own you. That was their thoughts. Then came the French charters. Okay? Then came the French charters. I don't know if I can find the French charters on here, but I should be able to. No, that's too far. Then came the French charters. I think it's not going to come up, so I'm still going to read the TikTok. So the French charters was a whole nother set of people. You see all of these different people. You got Spain. You got Portugal Pope. You got the king, the kings who stole the melanated people's spot and became kings and queens. Now you got them sending people over here to steal our land. Then you got the French people over here trying to steal our land. So when you got a whole nation of Niiji, there's no internet, there's no cell phone. People going to war, you won't even know it. And then the way they played the trick, guys, it was so nasty. When I read about what they did in Florida, they would pull up hungry, bring their soldiers. This time this was like the Spanish conquistadors. They would pull up like part of the Christopher Columbus type shit. Pull up to the land, be hungry. They was like, we gotta go find something to eat. So they would go find a village, ask where the chief is. The cacique is what they called it. Where is your cacique? Cacique. They wanted to know where the king was in their eyes, basically the chief. They would find the chief and ask them, hey, I need some of your people to come carry my shit. And the king would be like, no, they're not coming to carry your stuff. Like, what are y'all talking about? Because they was used to doing this over there in Europe. They got mad. They would come back, sit in the woods at night. I couldn't believe when I was reading this. They would set the homes on fire. And then when the people ran out, our ancestors ran out. They would unalive them, take the land, use their skin for their wounds. Creepy type shit, man. It's like, what? Am I reading this? Because I'm reading these things to try to find out the truth, right? And then when you're reading this, you're like, what the fuck? It's just you can't believe it. The things that was going on is really sad, but it came from the Pope. So now we got France. New France, 1534 to 1763. Francis I authorizes Jacques Cartier, later Samuel de Champlain, to claim the St. Lawrence and Great Lakes of France. And then we got Spanish patents already held in Florida and the Southeast by 1513 under Juan Ponce de Leon. Leon Cannon. What it do? So notice the language: grant, discovery, possess. The words that are missing when the Pope was writing these things and these people was sending out these letters and stuff to steal land, the words that they were missing was consent, conversation in that person's language, humanity. Y'all that didn't click. It was just whatever land you find and discover, it's yours. It's like, what? Idiots. This is why the world is all screwed up now, because of these freaking idiot brains calling themselves a freaking Pope. but don't have no type of humanity. These just words y'all made up to try to act like you're important, so you can steal people shit. And I don't like it. I don't like it, man. I don't like the things that I read and learn. So they started surveying and selling the land. They started surveying and selling the land. I hate that my slides didn't download for y'all, man. They started surveying and selling the land. It's like, where is it? It's really messed up. But we just gonna keep going. Why is it like that, guys? Okay, we just gonna it's the only thing I don't like about having so many slides. I have to find a better way to, there we go. Alright, so they started surveying and selling the land before the United States colonial land mechanics. This was 1700 to 1776. Surveying has converted indigenous land stewardship into geometric property lines, emphasizing the transformation of land into commodity. They saw it as a commodity, where the spiritual connection was disregarded. So they didn't pay attention to our spiritual connection to the land, our ancestors, history. They disregarded every aspect of humanity, still to this day, because they're silent about it. They know what has been done, but they're not staying silent. They still enforcing the police, not being honest with people about what's going on behind the scenes. And most people, they don't have attention span to pay attention. They're just like, you know, I don't have time to learn this stuff. Like, no. So the surveyors carved the earth into townships, guys, using rectangular survey system, later occupied by the U.S. Land Ordinance of 1785. So the Crown began selling these vacant tracts to settlers. So from over there, they came, they said, hey, go find the land. When they found the land, despite who was here, they said you had the right to settle there. And actually, they started selling our land to each other. And this was financed through the Board of Trade and local governors. Surveyors carved out the earth for townships. And I want to show you guys what the townships actually freaking look like. Literally. Like when you see what they did, not what the townships look like, but I'm gonna pull up an actual genealogy document. This is my actual genealogy record from my ancestors. This is 1870. This is from my Redman family line. Let's pull it up. Just miss my stuff all the way up. Okay, so this is my actual document from ancestry.com. I think it's very important for you to do your genealogy, so that way nobody can get on TikTok and be like, oh, you're not, shut the hell up. I know who I am. My records go back farther than the president Trump records, because he ain't even been, his family just got here. Shut the hell up. And he over here making decisions about indigenous stuff and this, and you get what I'm saying? Like, what are y'all? So the reason why I want to show you guys this is because look at the top of the page. On the Census Bureau 1870, for one of my great grandparents, it's listing us as inhabitants, not fucking immigrants. So inhabitants, think of it like this. Residents belong to a house. Inhabitants belong to a homeland. It's a word that carries both presence and history. Those who dwell, endure, and give life to a place. So we were the inhabitants. They were researching us, coming to our homes, building up research just to use it against us, against the inhabitants. All right, let's go to the next slide. This is another document from my genealogy research. And the next word you're going to see is something we just talked about, townships. So after the Pope and then the kings, they said, okay, go divide the land into townships so we can sell it. Look what we was living in. We were inhabitants living in a township. Yeah. Inhabitants living in a township. This is my actual ancestors' records. It's crazy, right? Nothing about Africa. You'll see even on this line, like right there, that says place of birth. Are you a foreigner or immigrant? We don't got none of that. Go do your genealogy. Then you won't have no doubts about who you are. You won't have no doubts. So Niiji resistance. We definitely didn't go down without a fight. Sure didn't. Uh-oh. I'm just trying to find my next slide. Which is very hard to do because it's all out of order. I don't think I'm going to do TikTok. The next time you guys just got to come where I'm at because I can't find my slide. Alright. Screw it. Okay, guys. Well, let's just skip that, maybe. We'll just go here. So Niiji resistance. So we definitely resisted these efforts of them to come and try to steal our land. There was the Powhatan Confederacy, 1607 to 1646. It resisted encroachment until crushed by the British troops. They sent troops here. You got the Yamasee War. Okay. The Yamasee War was in South Carolina. It exposed colonial debt schemes built on enslaving indigenous people. So we just talked about South Carolina. And that's why you have the slave codes of these places, South Carolina, these places, because they don't want us to be free. So they were trying to do everything in their power to prevent us from even just like having any kind of self awareness and ability to do what the hell we was doing before they came. They just came in and tried to just control people. It's just weird, really. And then you have the Appalachee. Remember I talked about Appalachee, Tallahassee, and the Temecula of Spanish Florida suffered forced missionization, meaning they forced them to become Christian, and deportation after 1704 when English militias destroyed the towns, such as Andrew Jackson, but he was a lot later. But same kind of mindset. So yeah, we resisted them. We didn't just fold. And as you can see from this slide, it says English common law introduced fee simple ownership, land as transferable commodity. They made it so you could transfer land as a commodity versus how it was before. We had just land, fruit, just a beautiful place, gardens, not paying to eat seeds and oranges. It just grow. But they took up all the female trees, and now we don't have any trees. You got to go to the grocery store to get you an apple. That's ultimate control. Controlling the food is crazy. In 1776, the Crown's charter set precedent for American Republic's own public domain. So they just kept going, kept going, kept going. So this is the seeds of colonization. I'm about to show y'all the seeds of colonization. So the seeds of, well, actually, just think about it. If the first surveyors saw the land as sacred rather than profitable, how different would our laws be today if they didn't come and say, hey, this land is sacred, these people are sacred, like, we don't need to fuck with them, like, what are we doing? People here, we just need to leave them alone, not try to make them Christians, not try to missionize them, not try to control everything they do, where they work, what they eat, control their food. So the seeds of eminent domain in colonial law. So this planted the seeds for them to say, okay, we're going to make a law of eminent domain where I can come and take your land, give you some cotton with my face on it and call it money. And then now this land that was never yours, well, never theirs, they can just do that. And you can't even say nothing about it. You can't be like, no, I don't want to sell my land. They just force it. You've seen the stories about the elderly when they get older, they lose their land. They don't have somebody like fighting for them, trying to help them keep their land. The government takes it. They take it and they sell it. They turn all of our forests into national parks so they can sell it. I met a patient and she was telling me how they were trying to sell the national parks to corporate for real estate. So they'll act like it's a national park, but on the low they're actually selling the national park, selling our land, taking our land, and using it to make these laws that nobody is paying attention to. So the seeds of eminent domain from 1600 to 1776 include the doctrine of discovery from 1493, which is what the Papal Bulls, remember those we just talked about, all the way to 1823. And I just showed you a record from my people, which was from the 1800s. I think it was 1830s. So this is around the time my people were still here as inhabitants in townships that was suddenly getting divided into rectangles and people squatting. All right. It was also planted by crown sovereignty, the right to conquest, codification into law, Hugo Grotius, and Emer de Batal. So the doctrine of discovery from 1493 to 1823 said that Christian discovery grants ultimate title. So if you're a Christian and you discover land, you can steal it. That's what they said. Crown discovery. The monarchs hold radical title over all land. Subjects only possess leases. It said, okay, the crown hold, that's why they feel like they the leaders now, because they just it never really was a legal transaction. It was just something that they just did. Like, okay, we crazy, let's just take the land. The right to conquest. War justifies confiscation. So that's why you'll see a lot of wars. Seminole War, the Yamasee War, all of these wars. So if you win the war, you could take the land. That's why Andrew Jackson, he was a leader in war. And he was taking land all over the place. By the mid-1700s, jurists like Hugo Grotius and Emer de Batal codified these ideas into international law. So it became international law that you could steal land if you wasn't a Christian. They argued, and it did not make no sense. So that's where they get eminent domain from, which is what really prompted me to kind of research and dig into this topic. I really wanted to take my time and just like break it down. Because what is going on in the bird brain? Because I can't understand. I can't freaking stand. So from revolution to regulation, when the American colonies declared independence in 1776, because remember, they was under the crown. The crown was like, this is our land. Any land you find belong to us. So they went to war in 1776, the War of 1776. They didn't break from the theology. They just inherited it. They didn't say we breaking away to be free. We breaking away so we can control these people on our own. We don't need y'all to control us. So these colonies, they fought the crown. They was fighting each other at this point to try to control us. What? For our land? Like, don't make sense. And you see they colonized by the water because the boats could pull up to the water, fight the people. Now they taking over the water. Now we moving to the interior. That's why they made the Department of the Interior, so they can also control the interior. The parchment changed. The principle of possession did not. In our next segment, we'll see how the new republic, the new people who broke away from the crown, rebranded divine conquest as federal policy, the policy that we now follow today, such as the General Land Office of 1812. Y'all ever heard of the War of 1812? Now they got the General Land Office of 1812. Mind you, I just showed you census papers where my people were already here, and they were researching them and documenting them, and they didn't know that they was doing that to survey their land and steal their land. No. So they made the GLO 1812, the Grazing Service in 1934, and the Bureau of Land Management in 1946. Okay? They just did a lot, and it don't make no sense. So in this next segment, we're going to talk about something that's leading us up to where we are now. Independence without innocence. When colonies broke from the British colonies, when colonies broke from the British crown, they shouted freedom, but they kept all the tools that they learned to be evil. The doctrine of discovery and the royal title simply changed hands from the king to we the people. That's why they're telling Trump, oh, no kings, no kings. But it went from kings to we the people, who still meant white, male, land-owning Christians. That's what it meant, we the people. White, male, land-owning Christians. Alright? Doesn't make any freaking sense. None at all, guys. All right. Moving right along. So then came land ordinances and the birth of public domain, like public park, public this, public, forest, all this stuff. They created this system just to steal the land. It says discovery gives title to the government. That was Johnson versus McIntosh case. So let's go over a couple land ordinances from the 1700s. So in the 1785, Congress ordered survey and sale of western lands using the rectangular grid system. This was Thomas Jefferson's system. So that was 1785. That's crazy. Then there was the Northwest Ordinance, 1787. Promises utmost good faith toward Indians while opening the Ohio Valley to settlement. So what is lying to us, settling on our land. That was U.S. Statutes at Large 1 Stat 50-52. Then indigenous people were not consulted at all. The public domain was our domain, but it was made for use for everybody. for the government to say, oh no, y'all not occupying every single piece of the earth, so this is ours. Because we had so much land. Like, tribes had hundreds of acres. Some of them had millions of acres. And because the chief can't be on all the land, this is just our land. They said, oh, it's empty right here. Let me go on in and squat right here. This is my land now. I got the paperwork to prove it. We're like, what the hell? What are you talking about? You know? Then the Fifth Amendment of 1791 codifies eminent domain. So the things you hear now about stolen land, this is our land. It came back from all of this over decades of just doing shit, writing shit down. So they wrote in 1781, nor shall private property be taken for public use without compensation. Meaning, you can take it and we're going to give you a little something. Because it's public property. How? Who you compensating? It's crazy. So it means that the state can take anything they want for the common good of all of us. But then what they do behind the scenes is they sell it to real estate. So it's really not, it doesn't make any sense at all. There was no protection for the Indians. How could it? It was at war. Why would they protect us? Why? It said they were considered domestic dependent nations later by the Supreme Court. So one very well known case is Johnson versus McIntosh. This is 1823, around the same time as those records that I just showed you. Chief Justice John Marshall rules indigenous nations only hold right of occupancy, the ultimate title belonging to the discovering European nations. So they say, hey, we're Europe, we discovered it, even though there's people already here. In their head, this made sense back then in the 1820s because they wanted to steal it. So anything they wrote down was going to be in their favor to steal it. Like, and then when they're holding the pow, 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 you know, in this thing, then, you know, this was their weapon. This was their weapon. So in this study, Johnson versus McIntosh in 1823, when they talk about eminent domain, they specifically cite the doctrine of discovery. The ones that the Papal Bulls, the ones that the Pope said, hey, if you not European or Christian and a white male, then you can't own the land. So this is what they use in court to make a decision in 1823. This is the moment where the Papal Bulls became American law. 1823 in this case, because they used those to say, hey, we can steal all this land. So all the land that they have now, they use the eminent domain law to take it. But something funny is gonna happen, guys. I know that I'm really taking my time with this, but something funny is gonna happen in a little while. You'll see why this is so important, because the Pope is the one who created those Papal Bulls and sitting it out and saying we control the souls and the land and all this. You can seize it if they're not Christian. If they don't want to turn into Christian, you can have everything they got, right? So that's going to make sense in a second. So if the Supreme Court can erase people's ownership with a sentence, what does that say about justice? What does that say about paper versus presence? What does it say? What does it say, guys? What does that say? So this is the paper engine of expansion. I hope you can see that on TikTok. So basically what you're looking at is what it led up to. Alright? So we just went through what the Pope said, what Christopher Columbus them and all those conquistadors came over here thinking that they couldn't just steal land because they king and this person told them that, so they just came over here with the rah 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 and they got the ha ha ha. They came over here with the pow 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 and they got the wham bam no thank you ma'am. So 1812, y'all heard of the War of 1812? That's when they created the GLO office, the General Land Office. And I researched this backwards because I kept seeing eminent domain. You can get your land back. And I was like, dang, land back. Well, what department is that? And I kept digging backwards. And it led me to the GLO 1812 under President James Madison. 2 stature 716. And he created this to survey, map, and sell public lands to the government. So now you just seen where I just showed you they surveyed it and turned it into townships. They turn our land into townships. See that? Townships. Rectangle townships. But he did this, why? To survey, map, and sell public land that they said, because we not occupying all of the land, to fund the government, to fund our demise, to fund them being so evil and nasty as fuck. They use our land to fund this evil shit. The fuck, man? Can't make this up. Edwin Tiffin was the first commissioner for the General Land Office, the GLO. Then there was the Managed Homestead Act of 1862, Timber and Stone Act of 1878, and Mining Law of 1872. So in the 1800s, they did a lot of stuff just to steal the land. They took control of the mining. They said they owned the timber and the stone. They said you couldn't even own a house if you was a melanated person. You couldn't do nothing no more. You just basically couldn't even breathe. You just gotta literally follow them like a pet that they want to have trained. Fuck out of here. Out of here, man. Rabbit thinking. It said by 1849, the GLO moved to the new Department of the Interior. Its mission turned soil into revenue. So the General Land Office, after the war ended, and they realized, okay, now we control it. They was just warring with us, taking land, writing stuff down, surveying stuff. Then they turned it into the Department of Interior because they realized, okay, we got control of the coast. Now we got to go to the interior and take control of their gold, of their mines, of all of their resources. The lights. So that's why you pay for lights. That's why you pay to drive. That's why you got car insurance. That's why you got to pay to live. You got to pay for food. All of the things that was natural resources. You could put a generator in the ground and get electricity. Natural resources. Now we have to go and give our time away for money. This is why hood to hood is important for the people who get it, because we tired of giving our time away for money. We gotta work smarter, not harder, and get the tribe back together. That's the only way. It's the only way. So what happens to a nation's spirit when the holy ground is measured in acres and sold by the lot? What happens? What happens to that nation? What actually happens? So basically, the doctrine of development shows that the Homestead Act of 1862, it was signed by Abraham Lincoln. I know y'all heard of that guy who also enslaved people. Granted 160 acres to any citizen or intended citizen who would farm for 5 years, resulting in 270 million acres taken from indigenous nations and redistributed to settlers. They didn't pay for it. That shit make me want to cry for real. That shit literally... That shit pissed me off, man. Because here you are, going to school, working this, working hard, doing all this. Your ancestors had land. They had legacy. They had all the resources that you ever think about. This was your inheritance. They came and said, no, 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 no. We don't care nothing about your ancestors if they're not European, white, and Christian. We don't care nothing about your soul. We own everything. We don't care about nobody but ourselves. And we're going to take your shit. So Abraham Lincoln, the guy who they teaching your kids to know, who the president, this guy, make sure you know his name. He the one who enacted the Homestead Act, 1862. Now remember, my ancestors' records that I just showed you go back to the 1820s and 30s. But this guy, immigrant over here, talking about this his land, and granted 160 acres to one person. Now one person could get 160 acres if they agreed to farm for 5 years. And then after that, they was done. So you'll see a lot of these people now acting like they got legacy with stolen land, and you wondering, damn, what happened to the Niiji land? Why we all renting and working hard? And you know, especially when you come from the hood, you're generationally cursed. Now some people broke the curse and they have land. I know my family passed down land, but a lot of the land was still stolen. But some people don't even have any of that. You know? And you wondering why the fuck your life so hard. It ain't your fault, really. It ain't really your fault. It might be the Pope fault, Christopher Columbus fault, Abraham Lincoln fault, every president fault that you sitting around here voting for in a system that ain't made for you. You just voting for no change. This guy, Abraham Lincoln, I can't believe it, took 270 acres and just granted it. It didn't say they bought it. It didn't say they did no loan. It didn't say they had to go to the bank and get redlined. It didn't say that they had to go through the financial officer and check the credit and how much they make. It didn't say none of that. But you walk around here with your head high like you done work hard for our land. Got to be out your mind, man. You gotta be out your mind, man. It's sad, man. Walk around here like you better than people. You shouldn't do that. That's sad, man, to take people's land and give it to your people, and not just 1 acre, 160 acres apiece. That's fucking crazy. We're gonna move on, but that right there, y'all gotta dig into the Homestead Act and tell Lincoln a new asshole. Okay? Disrespectfully. Next was the railroad land grants. Congress granted more than 130 million acres to railroad companies. This was U.S. Statutes at Large, 9 Stat 466. Each mile of track was a legal taking called public use. So if your family had land that was in the way where they finna do a railroad on 130 million acres, then too bad. We don't care. Then was the Dawes Act, 1887, 24 Statute 388. This divided tribal land into individual plots. Surplus lands sold to non-Indians. Why non-Indians? What? Sold to non-Indians. 90 million acres was lost by the 1900s. So you got the homes. They were just trying to take the land. We had so much land. They was trying to see whatever was empty, claim it for. We didn't know none of this was going on. They just writing all this stuff down, taking land, selling land, squatting on land, just doing all this stuff, bringing big boatloads of people over here. I saw the boats. I never seen a boat with my people come from nowhere, but I seen a lot of boats with the Slavs on it. The Slavs. who was also known as the slaves, coming over here. Now we know they was coming because guess what? I can go over there and get 160 acres? What? Man. Now you around here gotta work hard. You gotta stress out. And you still can't make ends meet. While they renting out the houses and stuff that was given to them for no reason. Just because the Pope said, hey, you can have it. So they called it civilizing. We call it fragmenting. How many ways can you steal the same land and still call it progress? How many ways can you hurt the same people and still say you making progress? So when you talking about making America great again, what is you talking about? You talking about before colonization? Because it damn sure wasn't great when you first came. Unaliving people, stealing land. You call that great? I really need you to understand what the fuck the definition of great is. That ain't it. When you don't have humanity in your soul, when you can't understand other people's shit, and you want to take stuff from people, that ain't great. Nothing about it is great. Nothing about it says I'm superior, supreme, none of that shit. It says I'm evil, I don't have a brain, and I'm heartless. Out of here. Okay. So then you had the Indian Reorganization Act in 1934, the American Indian Movement in 1976, and now in 2023 now, they use eminent domain in court, remember, to steal land. But in 2023, the Vatican repudiated the doctrine. They said we don't want to have nothing else to do with the Papal Bulls from the 1400s. We are disassociating ourselves with that. You can't do that. You did all this shit all the way up until 2023. It took y'all to 2023. And I think it's because we speaking out. I think it's because we're waking up. I think it's because now they're just trying to sneakily come in and say, okay, we apologize. We don't have. They didn't even apologize. Really, they just said we don't want to have nothing to do with that. We don't got nothing to do with that. That's what they said. That's what they said. They try to dissociate themselves from that. But then there was, like I said, the birth of the U.S. Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management. The Bureau of Land Management. How did this come about? The Bureau of Land Management. So, let's talk about the early federal eminent domain cases. Cole versus the United States, 1876. Statute 91 U.S. 367, if you want to research it. The Supreme Court confirms eminent domain power as essential to sovereignty. What? Crazy. Then Boone Company versus Patterson, 1879. The court upholds private companies using eminent domain for economic development. So they use this eminent domain that they made up from the Pope back then, that they just now denounced in 2023, to steal all this land. And now that they done stole all this land, they're trying to act like, they're trying to separate how they got the land, act like it wasn't connected to the Pope. I don't like that shit. Don't try to dissociate yourself now. Don't try to hide your hand now, Mr. Popey. Don't try to hide your hand now. What's going on, Marmar? Don't hide your hand now. It's too late for that. The damage is done. We gonna need some restitution. We don't want no reparations because we was never slaves. We were indigenous owners. And I guess, you know, when you start calculating that, it's gonna be somewhere in the billions. It's actually priceless. Like, you can't ever fix what you did. You can't ever fix this shit. You can't fix it. And you especially can't fix it when the government trying to act like, we ain't write all this. We don't know nothing about what Abraham did when he was just giving away 160 acres for no reason to settlers. We don't know nothing about that. If you want to get a house, make sure you got good credit. But if you melanated, if you Niiji, you still got to do the most. But for them, we're going to just give it to them. Granted, you grant it because you white, male, and Christian. Fuck out of here, man. These things make me so upset because it's like, damn. I hate that we not all like, just like, so fast. But I guess it takes time for people to wake up. It takes time to get this information, and I appreciate everybody just tackling the knowledge here, there. I'm learning so much so fast. Last year I was like, damn, when I learned the truth, the biggest lie on the planet Earth was that the black people was changed from Indian to black, or from Indian to Negro, and all of these things. That was like, what? And I was like, dang, it's going to take forever for us to find out. But in the past year, I realized, oh, the ancestors don't play about us. Y'all should have known that, man. Y'all really should have known that the ancestors don't play about us. I'm sorry, somebody should have warned you. Our ancestors don't play about us. In the 1890s, they created the national parks. 1890s, guys. Yellowstone was 1872. And then Yosemite, 1890. So this was a way for them to control all of the land. Because before, you could walk anywhere. It wasn't a restricted park, all of this. We just had free land. Like, go outside, do some grounding, It wasn't such a stressful life. That's why when you go to the islands, people say life in America is very fast, stressful. You always on the time clock, the bills, how everything just out of control. Because the leaders just never meant to be here, because everything they built is built on evil. You can't build on evil talking about you got it from the Pope when you're doing all this evil shit. Like, wake up. When y'all gonna actually admit that you're wrong? I just recently heard that you can claim unclaimed land for the BLM if you go to them and able to prove that they have your family's property. Period. That's the same thing that made me research this topic today. And it made me go deep down the rabbit hole, Marmar. That's the same reason why I had to go and dig deep. And I know this is a long presentation, but I had to go this deep because people don't understand how deep it go. It go back to the Pope in the 1300s. From something, they using something from the 1300s to justify them stealing our land. And then 2023, the Pope said, no, we don't want nothing to do with that document no more. But you can't do that. Y'all use this still in court to do these things. But they think that because time have passed, oh no, we don't know what happened. We don't know. When Abraham Lincoln was saying, okay, if you white, male, and a Christian, you could get 160 acres if you agree to farm this land that we done stole. Oh, now they don't know. They just want you to learn that he was this president in school, that he was a good guy. None of the presidents were good guys. They were holding people in their homes against their will, taking over land, sending people out to steal land, doing the most. And you want us to respect them. Y'all put them on the money. You put them on this, and you're taking this money. You're taking it to church, and you think with these people, George Washington on the money, that some kind of way this is gonna connect you to heaven. In my eyes, it's impossible. These people have blood on their hands. You said everyone been hiding their hands. How can you make this connected? I'm just saying, think with me. Just think about it. It ain't got nothing to do with our spiritual creator. I'm sorry. I hate to bust your bubble, but it is what it is, man. You got to read for yourself. You don't got to believe me. I don't even want you to believe me. I want you to go read another book other than that one book that they actually gave you. So what man who using all these decrees to come steal your land, gonna come to your land, give you the cross, give you the Bible, so this is the only thing you can have, and I'm forcing you to read this shit. I'm forcing you to go to Sunday school. Schools started as Sunday school. I'm forcing you to do this, but this is good for you? It is impossible in my eyes. Once I realized how evil they were, and everything you're doing, even up to this point, try to hold us back, and this is the one thing you're going to give us, is Christianity? It got to be a trick. You got so many people tricked by this shit. You had me tricked all my life. And even now, it's a battle because I got so many people in my tribe who don't know this shit. They lost, but they think that I'm lost. But I'm like, no, man, I am a reader. You have to read. If you don't read nothing else, just read Christopher Columbus' journal. If you want it, I got it. It's long. It's long. But if you read what this man said about the Bible and about how what he saw and how they was planning to do to us, he was putting up crosses, kidnap. Man, it just connect you to the 1400s, to the Pope, and now it all makes sense to me because I read this last year when I first learned that I was brainwashed. I read this last year and I couldn't believe it. It's really sad. It's really sad. So, 1934, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, through the Taylor Grazing Act, 48 Statute 1269, they started to continue to take land, take the animals, all kinds of stuff. Authored by Representative Edward T. Taylor in Colorado. The director was F.R. Carpenter, later Fred W. Johnson. Their goal was to prevent overgrazing after Dust Bowl by issuing grazing permits on 80 million acres of public land. Much of the indigenous land never returned after the allotment. They just gave it to themselves. The permit system turned ancestral range into leased territory for cattle companies. So they took control of the food at this point because they realized, okay, we got to take control of the animals, the land, the people, because the more they move into the interior of the land, that's why they made the Department of the Interior. That just means the inside of the land to control the land. They already got the outside, the colonies. Now we need the inside of this big old place. And instead of arguing, we just gonna turn this whole thing into a big national park. This national park. These national parks didn't exist. These names didn't exist until really like almost 1900s. And they just said it's national because they think they own this land. It is crazy how deep the brainwashing go more and more. When a forest becomes a park, who gets invited to enjoy it? Who gets removed to create the view? And I just learned every state it's illegal to be homeless, but we got millions of acres. But people homeless, they can't even sleep outside with millions of acres of air. Y'all gonna put them in prison because they can't afford to live, or that life took a left. Now you're gonna lock them up. Oh, why? Because you get money for locking them up. And nobody still sees shit wrong with this though. We just still going to work, going to school. Everybody just still locked into the matrix. Everybody just still locked in. They right here with it. They trash it though. They trash what? When I found out Christianity was distorted and lies that broke me to the core, Marmar, I'm trying to tell you, I cried. I still cry. I said these people are diabolical. They hate us that much that they will use religion to destroy us. Man, it's sad, man, because I was deep in, man. Deep in. I didn't believe it. I kept hearing it. I lived with a chief. And the chief was basically, I'm a Christian. Like, I was born in the church. You can't tell me otherwise. You can't tell me otherwise. But last year, he just kept, because I guess he was angry when he found it out, but he just, it's just in my ear. He said it so much, I was just like, what is you talking about? Like, I'm thinking, dang, why you keep, he kept showing me shit, and I'm in the house with it now. And then I finally said, you know what? If what you're saying is true, let me do my genealogy. Let me do my genealogy. I'm going to start there, because if what you're saying is true and I'm not from Africa and I wasn't a slave, then I'm going to have to go find out who my people was. So I got the ancestry. Then I start pulling up shit like this. From the 1800s. My people, inhabitants, the townships, the things that I'm telling you guys now, this is my people. My people. My people. Inhabitants. Yeah. So all of the things just started to lock in. It just started to make sense. Like all of the things that they were doing just started to make so much sense. But let's get into the Bureau of Land Management, because this is where we are now. Like you said, they say you can go here, claim your land, and I wanted you guys to see the progression of how we got to this, to the point where they're controlling the land and who gave them the orders and where the cycleness came from. We see now it came from the popes. It came from these freaking losers. It came from these losers. Yeah, they look like something from like Batman, Penguin or something. It came from these people who think that they can control somebody's soul. I cried off and on for 2 months because I was about to come forth to preach, but something kept telling me not to, and I didn't understand, but now I know. That is so deep. Listen, my whole YouTube channel, my whole platform, when I was just not in my right identity, I used to just be so religious, like, and then when I broke away from that, because I used to battle with mental health, depression, all these things a lot when I was in my Christian identity. But since I learned who I am, baby, can't nothing break my soul. When I learned that Christopher Columbus' whole goal was to come over here and break our soul, man, that shit did something to me. Reading that this man was using the Bible to break people's soul, man, it do something to your spirit. Well, you can't be quiet. That's why I don't be quiet. Even though you have to be bold when you enter in this lane, because people don't understand what you're talking about. I can't be quiet. I can't hide the truth. When I go back and read this evilness, that's why you have 2023 Pope coming out saying we don't associate with that shit. It's too late for you to say that. You need to do something else. Because people still going learning this shit. Y'all need to do something else. Christianity kept me depressed. Me too. She said, me too. Marmar, me too. Christianity kept me depressed. And you will be depressed if you in that identity, because you don't know who you are. You thinking that something gonna say, and you lost. And they won. What the Pope said, this is their law. If you don't become like us, you're going to be doomed to servitude forever. And a lot of people did still become Christian, and they still doomed to servitude forever. And they wondering why. So, back to the birth of BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. This was founded July the 16th, 1946, by President Harry S. Truman. Okay? It merged the GLO office from 1812. Remember 1812, the War of 1812, stealing all the land? They try to change the names, just like they changed our name. They gotta change the name of these departments so that they can hide history and kind of start over. But it don't work that way. History don't work that way, you freaking idiots. So the General Land Office of 1812 plus the U.S. Grazing Service of 1934 were combined to make this, the BLM. And this is under U.S. Department of the Interior, the government controlling the interior of the land. So their mission statement is to sustain health, diversity, and productivity of public lands for the use and enjoyment of present and future generations. You mean secretly selling it behind our backs? Because I had a patient, like I told you guys, tell me that they're trying to sell national forest land for real estate, for money. Yeah. They're actually doing this like now. Alright? So behind that language was 500 years of legal inheritance from Papal Bulls and royal charters. So remember, the Papal Bulls are those letters, those popes that I just showed you, sent out to control the land. And tell them, hey, whatever land that you find, you can seize it, you can take it, and you can claim it. It's ours. And if the people there aren't Christians, you can lock them up or unalive them. We don't give a damn. That's what they said. If they don't want to convert, they're going to be your slave forever. So you can see where they get this mindset from. All right? Said it's religion that gave us. It's religion that they gave us, but the spirituality was ours and is ours. We are too spiritual and powerful, which is why we're waking up out of this mess. Our ancestors got us, period. We so spiritual. But the religion, they definitely gave us that on purpose, to confuse us, to make us follow them. I even see people now with white Jesus up on the wall. That ain't your ancestor. Take that guy down. You don't know him. He don't have nothing to do with you, I promise you. Take him down. That's not part of our ancestors. Alright? So, like I said, they used this department. They created it from 500 years of, that they said, legal inheritance from Papal Bulls and the royal charters. The BLM became the federal landlord for 245 million acres. Nearly 1/10 of the United States is controlled by this department. 245 million acres. No one really had to be homeless. It's just that we live in a place where people just don't have or understand humanity. So whose future was it meant to protect? Not the Niiji, or was it the children who they removed? The heirs of the land? Whose future are y'all trying to protect? Out of here, man. By 1946, the machinery was complete. From the Vatican to Virginia, from the GLO to the BLM, one principle remained: the state decides who belongs. Okay? And then next we're going to see how this mechanism was enforced by race law, Jim Crow, the Black Codes, urban renewal, modern eminent domain laws, and how voices like Richard Hildreth in Despotism in America, and I think you guys should get that book. Go find it on the PDF. Named it for what it was: organized tyranny. Organized tyranny, for sure. So, urban renewal. Eminent domain often leads to displacement of the Niiji. That's the whole purpose of eminent domain. Is to get us out of our spot. And it's disguised as urban progress. This connection to historical land theft reflects ongoing inequalities and systemic injustices in urban policies. So after World War II, the empire put on a new suit. Bulldozers replaced muskets, planters replaced conquistadors, and the phrase public use became the velvet glove over an iron hand. Which means that they made everything public use and then just stole it. Public domain, and then behind the back they would sell it. We already talked about the Housing Act of 1949, which was a key milestone that helped them do this. The Highway Act of 1956. 70, Statute 374. President Eisenhower's interstate system displaced 475,000 households, disproportionately black, indigenous, Niiji. So you see, they did the Railway Act. Anytime they want to remove you from your land, they're going to make it an act, which means take action, and we don't give a damn how you feel. And you notice who doing this? The presidents. It's always the presidents signing this stuff in the law. The presidents. But they want your kids to learn the presidents. But they don't want your kids to know how to do the ancestry. They don't want them to know how to put their mama and daddy name in the box and who the grandparents is. Something so elementary. They don't want them to teach them that. They don't want to teach them how to use financial literacy. They don't want to teach none of that shit. They want you to know who the presidents is. Who are these evil people who control you? You gotta know them. And if you don't know them, you fail the test. Yeah. Local governments wielded eminent domain to raise so-called blighted neighborhoods. Neighborhoods that they said was not to their standards. They would say, hey, this is an eminent domain. We finna take it. Here's the money. Move along. We want this property. We finna take it. We're going to use eminent domain. Please move along. This is like Black Bottom in Detroit. Treme in New Orleans, and Haiti in Durham. So their pattern was to declare the community blighted or underserved or poor. They're doing this right now in my hometown, Tallahassee. On the south side, all I see is Florida State University, home of the Seminoles, but not the real Seminoles, the corporate Seminoles. They just building all over. They just taking over. But they're putting the Niiji out of their land. All the rent is going up. Everything is going to be so high because they're doing this, forcing you to sell your property. And it doesn't make any sense. So if it becomes an area they don't want to be blighted, they'll condemn it, say it's public use, and then transfer it to private developers for stadiums, highways, and universities. So that's how you'll see a lot of the old neighborhoods turn into stadiums, highways, universities, and stolen. When a neighborhood full of children laughter is condemned and considered blighted, what does that really mean? Who profits from it? The kids don't profit. The government profit. The corporations profit. We don't profit from that. When law becomes the servant of avarice, liberty is but a painted mask. So that means they're not even having the privilege. They're just doing this like relentlessly with no type of morals. None. No type of let's find this slide over here for you guys. We wrapping it up shortly, but I just have to get this all out today. All right. So when the law becomes extreme greed for wealth or material gain, basically that's what this is saying. When the law becomes the servant of greed for wealth and extreme material gain, liberty is nothing but a painted mask. It's not even real, because they don't live by liberty. It's only liberty for a select people who don't own the land. And it's more than just wanting nice things. It's like an insatiable hunger that drives a person to hoard or chase money at the expense of integrity, compassion, or peace. So they don't care. They're doing it now without even a thought. They don't have no compassion, no integrity. They don't have none of that. Where's the compassion, guys? Why y'all lost? Did you ever have integrity? It's kind of hard to believe. So in this book, Despotism in America, which I think is a very good eye-opener. Oh yeah. This is a good eye-opener. I put it up here. There it is. Richard Hildreth, Despotism in America, 1854. You really gotta get this book. Because in this book, this guy, he condemns slavery as a political despotism protected by law. Alright? So when they was trying to do slavery and kidnapping people, he saw this as absolute tragedy. So despotism means absolute power exercised by a single ruler, especially in a cruel, oppressive, and unjust way. So he's talking about, them ruling one-sided and being just very cruel. It comes from the word despot, meaning a ruler who governs without consent or compassion. And who does that sound like? Every president. Despotism replaces democracy with domination, Laws bend to the ruler's will and not to the people's needs. That's what despotism is. Okay? An example, the nation suffered under years of despotism where fear replaced freedom. That sounds like us over here. So when you think about this word as we go through, what he found in this book, despotism is what happens when power forgets its purpose. But the power over here never had a purpose but to steal, kill, and destroy. When leadership stops serving the people and starts enslaving them, that's not a leader at all. That's not even humane, if it makes sense. So he argued republic that a republic which sanctifies property in humans corrupts every statute. So meaning, if the government is going to justify having humans as property, it's never going to be right. It's going to be corrupt in everything that you write. But what they did in the 1800s and the 1700s and the 1600s, this was their thing. This is how they did it. His warning applies perfectly to eminent domain, the law that once stole people now steals land. And one thing that he mentioned in this book is how they tricked the indigenous people to thinking that they were from Africa when they were really prisoners of war, POWs. He talked about it, and that was the way that they would come on the plantation, which is the land that we were planting things on, and overtake the chief and then enslave the people on their own land. Literally. You see those stories about them digging a grave and getting the chief or the daddy, put them in the hole, and now everybody's scared. They scared of freedom. They scared because they can't believe that these people are moving in this manner. They can't believe it. I know I can't believe half of the stuff I run into. So, let's get into some late century cases and the elastic meaning of public use that they try to say is how they're stealing the land. So the first case we're going to just tickle over is Berman versus Parker, 1954, 348 U.S. 26. The court upholds D.C. Urban Renewal Project, declares public welfare includes aesthetic values. So they took some land because they said, okay, well, we think that this land is going to be a part of our project, so we're going to take your land, give you some money, move the fuck along. Then was Hawaii Housing Authority versus Midkiff. Courts allow land redistribution from large landlords to tenants, expands public use to any purpose, any public use. And a major one was the Kelo, which I have here, Kelo versus the City of New London. The breaking point, which the court rules that transferring private property to another private developer for economic development counts as public use. This was in 2005 they did this. They expanded eminent domain powers. They made economic development equal public use, so they could say anything is for economic development, sell it to developers, get the cash, and now our land gone from an illegal sale. This is controversial implications for property rights. All right? But we already talked about this is how they push us out of the communities we built now. That our communities are looking good now. They want us to use eminent domain to push us out and bring NYT. Facts. The church calls it the keys to the kingdom of heaven. MK Ultra Mind Control Formula PDF. I be hearing people talk about MK Ultra Mind, but I'm just talking about humanity. I don't give a damn about an MK Ultra Mind. What the hell wrong with y'all regular mind, boy? This stuff is psycho. When you just think about now humanity, somebody owning something, somebody come in your house and take your house right now, that ain't happening. But this is what they was doing. Because we had bow and arrows, they pulled up with that pow, boy. That's what they, now, the school that I went to, Florida State University, people don't know it's the home of the Seminoles. That's where the Appalachian Indians at who look like me. But now, they changed the mascot. My high school was the Redskins, now we the Raiders. They try to hide it in your face. But the school started as a military school. Andrew Jackson, the president on the money, y'all know his face. He went down there, boy, and went ham. What they say, he crashed out. He a crash out for real. A lot of these presidents are crash outs. They are using the voice of God, technology, weapons, systems on humanity. Yes, they are. Every single day. And they don't have no freaking remorse. Not a one. Not a one. Obama signed the Global Brain Initiative, mapping out brains for transhumanism and global surveillance system, tracking and tracing their victims wirelessly and remotely using the human biofield aura. I see you said all of that. It probably is true. Obama, if he's a president, he knows about the history of presidents, so I don't really know, man. I was all for, they are magicians making children, people, money, evidence against them vanish into thin air just like magic. They don't got that much power. They got a lot of power because they got the knowledge and we don't have the knowledge. But baby, listen, we are waking up. We're not having that shit no more. I don't give a damn. You got an MK Ultra, a JK Ultra, a FK Ultra. It ain't gonna stand up to my ancestor Ultra and the history that y'all dummies wrote down. It's not gonna stand up to that. It's just not. Alright, you can't just do what y'all did. And now everybody want to be silent. They just want to cut off this app, shut these people up, go and shut the government. That don't work. When are y'all gonna actually take some fucking accountability, man? Is it you never gonna take accountability? You don't have to. We're gonna wait. It's okay. Keep playing dumb. Keep playing dumb. Alright? So with the kilo versus the city of New London, said the Vatican's keeping 53 miles of shells of knowledge. Man, listen, you, period. That's why we went back from the 1300s to the Papal Bull, and we worked our way up to this point right here. We worked our way up to this point. You just came in, but let me pull up that slide again. We on number 22, but we worked our way up to this point. Because what? The Vatican is where the Pope is at. And they use those Papal Bulls. Let me pull it up for y'all here on pull it up for y'all here. Oh, that ain't it. There we go. Egyptian Kemet, land of Kemet. So the Papal Bulls from 1493 led to the Royal Land Charters, which led to the Board of Trustees in 1789, which led to the GLO office, the General Land Office, 1812, and then to the U.S. Grazing Service, which was all combined into the Bureau of Land Management. So you see how they got to this point. You see how they got to this point in their big scheme to steal land. So if economic growth justifies anybody taking the land, who truly owns America? Greedy corporations? Whose bones are those under the Vatican's tunnel inside the walls? In geometric shapes like trophies. Wow. Wow. That is freaking crazy. So while the courts, well, actually with this case, Kilo versus New London, it cut across all races and all class, because then other Americans, not just the Niiji, realized the state could seize anyone's home if the tax base promised more. That means they could just take your stuff, say, hey, we need this to develop, and it's gone. Ain't nothing you can do about it. That's a law. That is a freaking law. And what is a law? Something that they made up just to be inhumane in my eyes. It don't really have nothing to do with me. It's just some shit that they made up to lie. It don't really have no backing. But they have us walking around here scared of everything, scared to live, scared to breathe, going to church, going to work, going to school. We just all screwed up, guys. We all screwed up. I'm trying to find this slide for y'all TikTok, but you know how my app be working a little crazy. Here we go. Oh, that's not good. So you can see from this timeline that it's leading up to the land back movement. Alright? This is how the Supreme Court redefined public use. They had Berman versus Parker in 1954. Then it went to Kelo versus New London, where they said, hey, even land that we want to use for urban development, that's public use, so we can steal that too. So 1989 was urban redevelopment initiatives. 2005 they expanded it to economic development expansions, where they could sell the public land, which is what they're trying to do now with the national forest, sell it to developers so that they can make money. And then there was legal precedents, which it's the names of the capital cities: Sin Sin, Naughty on High, Las Vegas Nerve, 88. I don't get what that means. What do you mean by that? All right. So now we go to this. Ooh, that's not how it should look. There we go. So, if the church that blessed the theft admits that it was wrong, like the Vatican did in 2023. Oh, hold on. What moral right do governments have to keep the spoils of what they stole? How do we reclaim the right to belong to our own land? How do we do that, guys? Somebody mentioned that they're going to the BLM to reclaim land, but most people can't even go and start their ancestry because they've been so docile and so trained and all these things, that reclaiming land is going to have to be done on a global level, you know. But the land back program for tribal nations was with the U.S. Department of Interior from 2013 to 2022. 3 million acres returned to the trust, but those are, in my head, I'm thinking this is to the $5 Indians, not to the true Niiji, and that is the problem. So they're trying to say, oh, we doing this and giving back, but they're still got us out of our spot, still trying to trick us into believing that we're somebody we're not, and giving land back to people who it don't belong to the Native Americans. They know that that's not them. They know that they come from Eurasia. They are not Niiji. Could you imagine Native Americans with no melanin in Florida talking about some agriculture? Why y'all think it's called Florida A&M, Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University, boy? Because we the kings and the queens of agriculture and making stuff. Everything invented here was made by who? The melanated Niiji. So what was the purpose of the Native Americans? So y'all native and y'all never made nothing. You don't do nothing. You ain't the basketball stars. You ain't the models. You ain't the doctors. You ain't the what are you doing? Since you so native, been here so long, but ain't did shit, ain't invented shit, but trying to take our spot, take our land, getting in line, talking about you American Indian, while we over here confused and thinking that we black or Africa, when all of our records right here in the National Archives. I would have went out my whole life never knowing that I have records connecting me to all of my ancestors. Doing your ancestry is like, it's eye opening, because I'm like, damn, I ain't never known my great great grandparents until I did this. Nobody ain't saying nothing. They just got us going to church, going to work. I bet you know your co-workers' names. I bet you know your church members' names. But do you know your great great grandma name? Great great granddaddy name? Do you know these people? Do you? Do you still believe in the Pope? The one who want to claim your soul and that just rescinded it in 2023. That was 2 years ago. Boy, y'all just now realizing that all the stuff you got in the Vatican is full of shit and stolen. Wow. Wow. Anagram mirror. Wow. Said they've been lying to us all since before the ink was dry on the Constitution. Right, because what is the damn Constitution? Something y'all just keep. Trump, he get on TV. He go, I'm signing this into order. Shut up. We tired of y'all with the pen. Just put the pens down. Actually, we need to put no pens. Y'all need to put the pens down. Because when y'all be writing shit, you don't think about humanity. You don't think if it's right. You just, oh, yeah, this sound evil enough. Let's sign it into law. When I read the black codes, I was like, what? They force people to go to work. And then if your manager, aka your master, turned to the manager, was mean and you don't want a job, you couldn't quit your job if you've been there for a month. They would pick you up, take you back to work for free. And this was law. So how can we trust your laws? Your laws don't make no sense. They still don't make no sense. Making homeless people be criminals when you got millions of acres you selling to real estate people, when you done gave 160 acres away to all the people who came over here just giving it away. Now people can't even sleep outside when they can't even make it. And your answer is, the government answer is, it's now illegal. But it wasn't illegal when you came over here squatting. Was it illegal then? It still ain't illegal. Nothing you do is illegal. In this government, freaking psychos, man. Freaking psychos. You have to definitely know that you're doing and make sure everything is legally done and ironclad, because they'll arrest you. They just locked someone up for trying to recover tribal land in Virginia. Exactly. Listen, when we first started on this hunt, I was like, okay, we're gonna go and change our license. Everywhere we went, the government offices, they act like they didn't know what we was talking about. So this is the problem that we're having now. How do we, if the church have admitted that it was wrong, how do we now reclaim our shit? How do we reclaim our rights? Because everywhere you go is not going to happen in those offices. It has to be the ancestors working on a spiritual level, us working with oral history, and us just, it's an awakening. It's happening. Is it going to happen fast enough? I don't know. But in order for them to act like they not. So this is what's going on. The people who did this, they are walking around our land and our country like this, like, they looking at us like, they woke, but what we gonna do? Like, now they nervous. Because they don't know what to do. Because they ancestor didn't get in the roadmap to figure out what the hell to do when, we created the internet so that we can talk to each other. Like, how y'all shut the creators down and talking about the creators ain't nothing? You called us slaves, but why everybody trying to be like us? It don't make sense. You got Native Americans acting ratchet, acting black, acting this, acting that. How y'all trying to act like us if you so indigenous? Boy, stop. You know you can't go and pick nothing in the state of Florida with that sun. That's the Sunshine State. The Sunshine State is made for people who got the melanin that connect to the sun, that has a defense system in our skin that y'all don't even teach us down there. That, oh, you know what? Melanin isn't bad. This is actually a chemical that is a part of the largest organ on the body, which is the skin, and it's actually a defense system against UV rays. It actually helps in the synthesis of vitamin D. And if you don't have melanin, guess what you have a higher risk of? Cancer. But they gonna tell you that your melanin look like cancer. You better stop hating yourself. Love yourself. Won't let nobody tell you who you are and reclaim who you are. Because they got us all jacked up. But the ancestors woke up. Because a person like me who done came from hood to hooded, done been through all the school systems, I could have been so far gone deep into it. But baby, listen, when I woke up and I saw how y'all tried it, it just did something to me. Like, I can't live in this identity no more. I have to say something. I have to get it out. I have to show up here every day and try to tell people, hey man, we got to break these generational curses. We got to try to find a way to get us some land, boy. Because if we can come together, get a couple acres, we might not be able to get it back this way as fast, but we can't keep going the same way we're going, working ourselves down to the ground till you're old, retired, everybody working, paying rent. In your tribe, you probably got everybody paying rent, paying all this stuff, and you could come together, get a complex, a big piece of land, and the possibilities are endless. Now you have legacy, but the way we doing it now, how they set it up, is set up for us to fail. It's set up for you to fail. They know it's set up for you to fail. They're just waiting on your failure. It's messing with our immune systems and our circadian rhythms. Correct etymology, period. Namaste. Your human biofield is your armor of God. There's 3 countries with sun simulator patents. What? Sun simulator patents. I agree. We should do this together. Don't go at it alone. She did a quick deed and they're saying she committed fraud. I don't know all the details, but they just got arrested a few weeks ago. Don't be scared, because they're going to try to do if they arresting you for being homeless, you know they're going to arrest you for trying to claim who you really are. You already know that. They're not going to make this easy. They're trying to act like they don't know what they did. They still getting on here signing shit. You already know that. That's why it has to be unity in the community. It said no more catchphrases or labels. The seas are corrupt now too. Yes, it is. Okay. So, the land back initiatives, all this stuff, it sound good when people, you can get your land back, you can go turn your birth certificate in. I hear people saying this, but I don't see nobody actually like making it a mass thing. It's just people saying stuff. Where is really the steps? When do we get the UN drip involved in this to say, hey man, these people holding our sovereignty, they're not allowing us to self-identify. They keep trying to make us be a part of their system, which is also called slavery. They made us cattle, go to work, and they won't let us self-identify. They got us locked into this system knowing what they did, and they still won't do right. They still talking about make America great again. When they came over here and had us mentally, they thought they had us all mentally not reading, not writing. How we not reading and writing, but we inventing spoons and hair products and toilet stools and tubs and cooking appliances? How? We got to be doing something, because you didn't create it. Let me know something, because something ain't right in the water. All right. So the way we get it back is by doing your ancestry. There's genealogy projects that are proving that many of us who were labeled colored or Negro were actually original indigenous inhabitants. Okay? So again, the Vatican already put their little piece out. I don't really think it really mean nothing. They just trying to cover their tail, but it's too late. Like, y'all way too late. Like, I don't even think you could ever be on time with it. I think it just should have never happened, and because it happened, it's going to be a real global mass awakening. And even with an apology, what next? Like, what happens? I'm interested to see what you guys think. It says can't trust them either. Everyone hiding their hands. www. I know what that means, but I'm not gonna say it. Shut it down. We don't need them. They need us. Period. That's how I feel. When they talk about government shutdown, I don't give a damn if y'all shut down from here until infinity. I don't need no government to eat. I don't need no government to plant me a seed outside, grow me some oranges and some collard greens and some corn so I can make some cornbread. I don't need a government to go fishing. Y'all try to control the water, talking about you need a fishing license. Y'all need to shut down. Y'all doing too much. You're charging people to fish. You're charging people for being homeless. You're doing too fucking much. You're doing too much. The UN drip ain't innocent either. Going to the UN will be running into the fire. I agree. I agree. They all in it together. But the point is, we gotta do something, y'all. Or how long do we see? You know what? Actually, we doing a lot. Cause knowledge is power. Each one teach one. So if you learned something today, or if you learned something and you come live, I'm here every morning 8 a.m. Please let me know. Cause I'm still a newbie. I'm only a year into being woken out of that lie. And I uncover stuff every day. Every day I'm in the know. So to reclaim the right to how we belong, it starts with the mind. Community land trust. Putting your land into trust for your family so no one can ever take it. Okay? It says Niiji, aka American Indigenous Nations, trust serve as guardians of the land. So holding property for collective use and ensuring a sustainable future for generations to come. We have to start these trusts, guys. So if you got any lawyers out there in the Niiji network, we got to start community land trust. We need to connect offline and network. Yes, Dr. Shon W at gmail.com. Empowered you are. Period. Empowered we are. Historical restoration properties. So recovering mission records, land patents, treaty maps empowers communities. Facilitating legal reclamation and restoring the rightful connection to ancestral land. Now see, the thing about that is, I know y'all heard of Ben Crump. Now he probably don't know that he's Niiji yet, but he's a lawyer from my hometown. I mean, I should say an attorney from my hometown. And he's working on the case right now to get some indigenous melanated people their land back. But the gag is, he don't know that he probably got land too. He don't even know that he Niiji. But when he find out that Tallahassee, aka Appalachia, aka the Appalachian Indians, land been stolen in Tallahassee, I wonder what's going to happen, because we got people in high places, they just don't know who they are yet. So really the biggest thing is knowledge, because I always learned that knowledge is power, and that's what they got over our head. They think that we don't know nothing. The tech they are using is the thought police from the Lord of the Rings trilogy movie. Wow, didn't know that. It says education and media. So teaching our children about historical milestones is important, and not starting from no damn Christopher Columbus. If they don't pass that test in school, I don't really think that. I think the schools, I think Niiji don't need to go to these schools because they prepare you to be a worker. I think homeschool is the new direction. I see a lot of people homeschooling their kids and not getting them out of this system, which slow your brain down. I ain't gonna lie, I was a genius. I felt like school slowed me down so bad. If I had known that I could be homeschooled, I probably would have finished high school in the 6th grade. But they slow you down so bad because they don't want you to be great. It took me so much to go through, from poverty, from being hooded, from losing my mom at 8 years old, from my dad always being incarcerated and a victim of the system because he's chocolater than me, and just realizing now in retrospect, damn, they really thought they had me too, but I'm the evidence. On my ancestors' wildest dreams. Stop playing with us. You thought you had my mind? You lied. We got y'all. Y'all wrote everything down and we reading everything, boy. Everything. So teaching your kids about the Caetera, these cases like Kilo versus New London, fosters a sense of community and belonging. It transforms all of the chaos into understanding who they are. Not from the 1800s, but starting from the 14 and the 1300s. Not starting from who the president is, but who what did these presidents really do? They really need to know. She understands the tech. Sabrina Wallace. I have to look that up. Alright. So 500 years has been the same pattern. The names change from Pope to King to Congress to developer. But the principle stays the same. Possession of you and your land and your spirit without compensation, even though you don't even want compensation, just doing something that they should not be doing anyways. Okay? Now I want to get into one last thing, and then I'm going to be done for today. I didn't expect it to be this long, but I knew today was Niiji Saturday, and I just had a lot to go over. So thank you guys for joining me, for commenting. You know, and just standing in the paint. So you said you don't trust UN drip, but most people don't even know that UN drip, the United Nations, they came out, the UN Declarations of Indigenous Rights. So these are things that they trying to do to say, okay, you can be sovereign, but yeah, you're right, we can't really trust them. So UN drip in 2007, this was in 2007, and honestly, when I read about it, the United States was one of the last international countries to adopt this and say, hey, it affirms indigenous rights to land, territories, and resources. They still haven't made it publicly known. They didn't even want to sign it. They was one of the last three to do it because they did not want us to be indigenous and to be able to identify, like self-identify. Okay? And then the genealogy. A lot of the ancestor records from, or the census records from the 1800s, they don't even put on the internet. You have to go to Lenexa to get your records. They end up underground somewhere because they know most people are not going to do that. They want to make it hard as hell. So you got to go there to get your records. But the Vatican confessed, but they didn't give us any restitution. So that's like spitting in our face. The UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights saying we can self-identify and be indigenous, but the government is ignoring all of that. Okay? After 5 centuries of drawing the first line in the conquest, giving Christopher Columbus all of these Papal Bulls, the Vatican finally tore the page, but what does that really mean? So I'm going to tell y'all what the statement is that the Pope came out and said. The 2023 Vatican Statement. This is what it says. This is what the statement says. On March 30th, 2023, the Holy See issued a joint statement by the Dicastery for Culture and Education and the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, declaring, quote, the Catholic Church therefore repudiates those concepts that fail to recognize the inherent human rights of indigenous people. The so-called doctrine of discovery is not part of the Catholic faith, but it have been for the last 500 motherfucking years. But 2023, this is what y'all got to say. This is all y'all got to say. So repudiate, to formally reject, renounce, or declare invalid. So since they made that invalid, how y'all still got eminent domain? What do y'all do about these forests? Because this is what they use. So the government now is acting on its own accord. They're just evil at this point. They're never going to come out and say nothing. Right, the prayers U.S. broke ties with the UN. Either way, you can always self-identify. Yes, you can always self-identify. America was created to do drugs and human mind control experiments and using innocent children for transhumanism and global surveillance systems and tracing their... Wow. I really believe that it was created to do experiments because even slavery, in that book, Despotism in America, it talked about slavery being an experiment. And now this is the results of it. So now this is the results of them trying to enslave people, do this, do that. It was an experiment. It was. That didn't work, might I add, because we ain't folding like that. The Pope is the king of the global traffic. King rings operating under pirates' false flags. Yeah, the Pope, don't trust that guy. Talking about he's a Christian. What? And y'all just came out saying everything that y'all did, talking about claiming people's souls was wrong. Let's read it again. He said the Catholic Church therefore repudiates those concepts that them other popes had. He said repudiates those concepts from these crazy guys, from the psychopaths. He said we don't want nothing to do with that no more, but y'all gonna have to do more than that. The Catholic Church therefore repudiates those concepts that fail to recognize the inherent human rights of indigenous people. The so-called doctrine of discovery is not a part of Catholic faith, but y'all the one who started all this. I need y'all to do some more, okay? It admits that the bulls, the dumb, the verses, the Romanus Pontifex, and Caetera were morally wrong, But repentance without restitution is confession without correction. So they repented, but they're not correcting it by giving us our land. They're still over here locking us up, putting us in prison, hence being a prisoner of war. They still over here got the popo all on your ass. They still over here training. But the day when they just like, you know what? The empire has fallen. Christ and Antichrist are pharmacological terms. Wow. Wow, that's deep. Wow. It's a pharmacological term. In my eyes, what you just said, in my eyes, I don't know if I'm going to get it right how you thinking, but it means like it's almost like a pill that makes you fucking crazy. Like a medicine that ain't good for you. Almost like a poison almost. It's crazy. That's crazy. So, how did the indigenous respond? The Assembly of First Nations 2023 called the repudiation a beginning, not a resolution. It definitely wasn't a resolution. The Pope coming out and saying that, it was not on no national television. They was around here trying to shut down TikTok. So we don't even know about nothing. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy noted that land titles based on those bulls remain active in the U.S. and Canadian law. So they came out and said, hey, the titles that the people have is based on those laws. So it's going to be a rude awakening happening. The Niiji are reminded that spiritual apology must match the material repair. So even though they're trying to apologize spiritually, that's just, I don't even think it's a real apology. They're going to have to do a little bit more than that. And wait till all of us wake up. It's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good. It's just not. So the UN drip in 2007 at the UN General Assembly, September 13, 2007. These are the things. So when you hear people saying UN drip, this is what they're talking about. But Marmar said, hey, we can't really trust them either. And I agree. But we got to start somewhere with trying to get these crazy psychos to wake up. So Article 26 of the UN drip says indigenous people have a right to lands, territories, and resources they traditionally own or use. Meaning if you traditionally use this was in the records, this is your land, we have the rights. Article 27 says states shall recognize and adjudicate these rights through fair processes. And they are not doing that. I swear, the police in Tallahassee, where I'm from, boy, they will harass you. When I went home, and I'm a doctor now, they was harassing me. I was just trying to go home to my Airbnb. And they'll sit on the corner. They like off the chain. It almost give me anxiety. Like, what the? Because you don't feel like dealing with that. Like, why are you stalking me almost? It's sad. Article 28, right to restitution or fair compensation for lands taken without consent. Where the money at? We didn't say reparations. We said restitution. Fair compensation for the lands y'all took without our consent, boy. That's why they shut down and they scared. And they don't know what to do. Because you've been taxing the Indians. You still taxing us on our own land. Do y'all understand how deep this goes? This shit go deep. And number 32, right to determine priorities for development and require free, prior, and informed consent for projects affecting the lands. They are not abiding by none of this stuff. So basically the UN drip, they're not abiding by it. They're trying to ignore everything. The Pope came out. America, they just like go to work. Shut down TikTok. Control the algorithm. Even the algorithm done got colonized. How our ancestors create the internet, but y'all trying to control the internet. This is what I'm saying. We are inhabitants of this land, but you're now the immigrants and you're in control. When does it actually make sense to the people? They wanted to shut down TikTok and told them it should be led by a U.S. company due to foreign hackers and media safety, and they declined. Yeah, they did decline, but I seen something where they set something up to actually sell it. They're just not talking about it. That's why you don't hear about it no more, because it's under the table. I think they actually sold it already, but you ain't gonna hear about it because it caused too much panic. It caused too much panic. President extended the time, but recently it was resolved, and now TikTok will stay because it's under U.S. control company. Right. So it's under U.S. control algorithm, so you're not going to really see the same things you used to see. Another form of control. They gotta even mess with TikTok. They gotta even go there. Like, why y'all just can't sit down and act right and just that's just like, it just don't even sound right that I even said they gonna sit down and act right. That don't even sound right. So, the antidote to despotism, okay? So the antidote to despotism, and remember guys, despotism means absolute power exercised by a single ruler, especially in a cruel, oppressive way, in an unjust. That means when power forgets its purpose, when leadership stops serving the people and starts enslaving them, mentally, physically, spiritually, however you want to do it, is what they do here on American soil against the indigenous, aka the Niiji, aka the black people, aka the Negroes, aka the African Americans, aka whatever name you want to go under, it probably applies to you. You won't know till you do your genealogy. So the antidote to this is documentation and devotion, receipts of truth, and looking up your land. I just heard about this a couple weeks ago. The weird thing is the U.S. sold the internet rights to China years ago. What? Wait, what? The U.S. sold internet rights to China. Oh, wow. I ain't know nothing about that. See, we invented it. They got the rights and trying to control it and sell it to each other. It's just like internet theft, land theft, people theft. Just, I don't know. I don't know, guys. So, once again, our practical ways of getting out of this madness, man, it's crazy, is community land trust. Remember, community land trust, holding trust for property as a collective use. Look up community land trust, putting your stuff in a trust so that you don't got to argue with the government. They're not going to teach you this. Go to Google. We might even have a course on trust. If you know somebody who specializes in this, maybe they can come on the podcast. Historical restoration projects going to your genealogy. Next week, I will be doing a course on accessing your ancestry.com. Just like we do demos for the AI, I want to do a demo for Ancestry so you can see how easy it is, because it should be taught to little kids, honestly. With the education, going back, stop going to the 1800s, stop starting at the 1700s. You got to go back and then move forward, okay? And we got to connect spiritually. Like you said, connecting off of the internet, meeting up just with like minds is really going to pay off. All right, so our land does not need a landlord. Our land needs a listener right now. Freedom begins when the earth is heard again, not freaking pagans and pilgrims and colonizers. These people, the earth don't really like y'all. All right, the earth don't like you. So join the movement. Let me know, what does freedom look like when the land itself is free, and what will you do today to be a part of the return? Here I am teaching, so I'm definitely trying to be a part of the return, getting the awareness out. Thank you guys for joining me today. I really have grew just going through this, putting this together. So join the Hood to Hooded Dreamers Network. All right. Join the Hood to Hooded Dreamers Network. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Do your research. Y'all seen that crayon before? Discontinue. I wonder why. You a redskin or not? If this is a redskin, look at my skin color. So what is a redskin again? Right. Know who you are. Great bill. Thank you guys. So this is Dr. Chief the Sunflower. I am here every day, 8 a.m. dropping the knowledge, teaching different topics. Saturday is Niiji Nation Day. So you can come here and just join the good vibes. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. Tomorrow we're gonna switch gears. I'll be doing trade station demo because we gotta keep investing to get this money, to get this land, to keep get this money. So we gotta work all angles: the finances, the financial literacy, the history, the community, the connection, the spirituality. We gotta work every single angle. And we not playing with it. So tomorrow, if you free, 8 a.m., we're going over to trade station, learning how to create a paper trading account so you can practice trading, so you can put your money into something else other than shopping every weekend. All right? They say, yep, that's us, that Indian red. Yay. That's us, that Indian red, guys. Thank you, Marmar, for your commentary. Thank you, Anagram Mirror. You guys have been very, very helpful for hanging out with me and even teaching me a couple things. Joseph Cole came through. If you're watching on TikTok, I appreciate you for watching. We didn't get to our 1,000 hearts, but I definitely put in the work. So, you know, it's okay, TikTok. It's okay. All right, make sure y'all follow and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m.